Welcome back. Moving on to our first segment for today. Well, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has recently discussed with fatwa scholars from all over the world a number of issues, including the renewal of the religious discourse. To discuss this in more details and to find out more about it, we have here the pleasure to welcome our guest, Dr. Ahmed Sobhy Mustafa, member of Azhar International Observatory from USA. So first of all, good morning.
Good morning, thank you.
So, if we're going to shed the light on the importance of the renewal of the religious discourse, especially you are in a very close contact with foreigners. So tell us more about it.
First of all, thank you for having me today. It's my pleasure to be with you today. I think the renewal of religious discourse is a very, very important topic everywhere. The religious discourse is not just for us or for others. It's both. It's mutual conversation that has never ended all over the history. The most important thing in my understanding that to focus on how the presentation will be and how the tools I'm using to present my issue, my case, in any situation I'm talking about. So, for example, in religious discourses, we need to know what is the tools I have and how I renew these tools so I can present my case in a better way. So, for example, a century ago, we didn't have TVs, we didn't have radios, we didn't have a lot of methods that we have now. So using these methods now is a very important in religious discourses, as you see. But what about the future? We stuck sometimes in our present. And this is my encouragement of all the religious officials all over the world when they are trying to engage with conversations with others. What is the future of our conversation? What do we need to engage in deeply way? How the tools I need, how I can renew the tools. Social media is a very new platform. Just 10, 20 years, it's very, very increasing everywhere. How the religious officials can use this platform in a wise way. So we have a radical discourse that we need to challenge. And that's why, for example, in Azhar, they have an Azhar Observatory for combating extremism. That's a new thing that has opened in 2015. Something like how we can engage in not just in our own tools. So Azhar Observatory has now 12 languages. They engage in 12 languages conversation. That's something we need to improve. We need to focus on how these platforms can serve more people around the world. A lot, I tell you from my experiences, the people outside Egypt, they really need to hear from us. They want to hear and find the conversation, the dialogue with the Egyptians and Al-Azhar or the church from within, because they usually hear from others about us. But we need to engage with them in a very highly dialogue that can serve all people, not just the officials outside.
Can you tell us more about this observatory, let's say, if I'm going to say institution or entity, what are you doing exactly and what kind of challenges you're facing?
The Azhar Observatory actually has 12 branches, 12 departments that serves, as I mentioned, 12 languages. It opened 2015.
But what are you doing exactly? I mean,
to serve, we have both ways. So we focus on observing the radical fatwas that comes from radical groups and analyze these fatwas in all these languages and then give them the right fatwas from Al-Azhar, ulama, or from the institutions in Egypt to give the people or the youth especially what they need to know more. But also the engagement in radical groups is not just the only way We actually have the other way. We serve people outside the circles in Al-Azhar or in the religious institutions. We serve people in Egypt, in outside Egypt. We participate in conferences all over the world. We're trying to reach out everybody in the globe with these languages. So we introduce to them the moderate Islam that Al-Azhar has to spread all over the globe in a way that can reach them in a simple way from the platforms we have in social media, in YouTube, in all the officials means that we can use.
We have seen also that really there are a great number, or I can say a huge number of new generation from Al-Azhar. I'm talking about youth in particular, because usually when you select someone of the same age to talk to the younger generation or to the youth, definitely you will be able to be or to discuss more with them their daily challenges, or there will be something mutual between them.
Exactly. Yes, that's very important. Thank you for taking us to this way, because most of the Azhar Observatory, for example, are very young people. It's a lot of varieties. You have women, you have men, you have youth.
And open-minded, they can
exactly.
talk to anyone.
The Grand Imam actually opened the way for women to get empowered inside the Azhar institutions, and now we have people, I mean women here, that they are officials in Al-Azhar everywhere. They have to deliver their message, they have to express themselves as a woman, but also as Al-Azhar officials. People outside are really concerned about that, like they need to know what they are doing, because like 10 years ago or 12 years ago exactly, Al-Azhar didn't have a lot of women in the power, in the officials or in the offices that they can have the power to do something. And now they have a lot of people all over the institution, and they are very interested in this matter, how women in Al-Azhar are having their rights, how they deliver their message, what is the difference between being a man and a woman inside Al-Azhar, how people around the institution, all over the institution, engage with that. Do they accept them or not? You know, women issue in West in general, it's very, very important, and they are interested to know more about how we are developing this issue in Egypt in general, but also in Al-Azhar, because Al-Azhar is the official religious institution in Islam, and that's why they are trying to know more. And I'm very, very happy to go in these engagement between West and Egypt and try to show them how people, like for example, the director of the Azhar Observatory is Dr. Riham, and she's a very good example of how officials in Azhar can engage in. She speaks English very well, she speaks Urdu very well, she speaks Arabic very well, she can engage in all over the conversation in a very highly good way that actually give us the example of how women now have the word, and they can say what they feel and what they believe. And this is just one example. If I would love to invite you to Al-Azhar Observatory to see how many women they have the power to say what they feel, what they believe, and they engage with conversation in East and West. And this is not just in the observatory, and all over the institution, Al-Azhar. And I'm very happy about that, and I'm very happy how the Grand Imam opened the way, and he's trying to open more ways for young people and for women to give us this concept of renewing is also with tools and with people as well, because people is the power inside every state, every country, to deliver their message in a new way.
Well, I believe that many of these activities are taking place through social media, right?
Yes.
And of course you are addressing several segments as we understood. So how you reach your segments? I mean, only on social media, or you have tools to reach people in different areas as well, or have meetings with people, especially when it comes to women, for example, because there are many. It's very much easier, of course, to when a woman has something to be discussed, to discuss it with a woman as well.
In Al-Azhar Observatory is not just the one unit. We have Al-Azhar Fatwa Center, that they have a section just for the family issues. So they have women that they receive problems from other women, and they have offices, they receive them, they have couples to come and discuss the issues, the marital issues, and give them advice. But also reaching others is very important, as you mentioned. For example, to go in youth clubs and deliver your message. That's something we do as well. To receive some kids, like they did training just last 2 weeks for kids from age around 12 and younger. And that's something actually we need. So we're not just targeting one segment. We're trying to reach out more people. And as I told you before, the more you reach people, the more you have younger people from the very early age. You give them this tools, the means that they need to empower themselves from knowledge and from experiences, that they will be growing in the way, in the moderate way that we want in our society.
From receiving different, let's say, different kinds of dialogues and the discussions with foreigners, what are the main issues or that they are really concerned with, I mean, when it comes to the challenges we are facing?
They are interested in, as I mentioned, for sure, women, that's some hot issue they always interested in, but also foreigners are not just one, like West is not just one segment, and that's very important to know from within, from our institution and from Egypt, that people are not the same. We have radicals outside. We have people that they have Islamophobia. They have also people that are radicalized in Islamic way, like they have fatwas that are. So when you are trying to reach out to West, you need to know that there are people against you because they don't believe in what you believe at all. Or you have radical groups that you want to reach to them, to educate them.
I think this sector in particular will be more challenging. I mean, reaching them and talking to them,
yes,
opening a dialogue with people who are against will be, I think, more challenging.
Exactly. To reach to them and to open their hearts to listen to you, that's more important. Because you can reach to them and they don't hear you, they don't listen to you. So the more the conversation, the dialogue, the way you are trying to reach to them is more effective, the more they listen to you. They feel that, oh, I never know that Islam is like that. I met a lot of people in USA, they say that immediately after just one conversation with me or with colleagues or co-workers, they tell them, like, we didn't know that Islam has all these varieties, that Islam is open for others, that Islam actually, or Muslims can actually do that or these. Because they have, unfortunately, the media that governs their minds usually give them the bad way, the radical groups, how they act, how they kill. So they didn't know. When you tell them that these all radical groups, they are not just like less than 1% of Muslims all over the place. When you convince them with intellectual methods, with good conversation, with presentation, as I mentioned, the tools are very important. And they are very interested in how we renew the religious discourse. So for example, 10 years ago or more, there wasn't Azhar Observatory in Azhar, there wasn't Fatwa Center, there wasn't a media center for Azhar, there wasn't a lot of places that actually is opening the social media platform and opening new ways to reach out to other people with a lot of languages. People are hungry to listen from us. They are very hungry to know, even if they are your enemy, when they listen to you, they know you more, so they start to think, oh, I didn't understand that.
I think ignorance here will be our first enemy.
Unfortunately, yes. And that's why education is very important.
So talking about this and talking, for example, here in Egypt, we have seen many of the foreigners, holiday makers, who, for example, decided to come to spend their vacation in Egypt. And they were very keen to visit also mosques. And this, as an idea on its own, is very, very important, because they are talking and they are asking about the design, about the architecture, about the era, about to whom it belongs to. And for example, if it is for any of the caliphates, for example, they ask about him, how was he as a ruler, how was the era during which he used to live in. So you are giving them more information indirectly as well.
Exactly.
Tell me more about this concept.
Usually, foreigners, when they come to mosques, they are very interested in just the architecture. But the way you present what you have and what they see inside the mosque, I will give you an example of, for example, Azhar Mosque. When you go to the Azhar Mosque, you hear about Al-Azhar, you hear that this mosque has been there for more than 1,000 years, and then you go there, you're shocked that it's full of people. You have educators everywhere inside the ruwaq of Al-Azhar. You have people that are educated in English, in French, in German, in Japanese now. When they see what's going on in the mosque, they start to think about the mosque in a different way. The mosque is not just something to pray in Islam. It's a more like a center of the society, the heart of the society. It delivers a lot of messages. And when you see how people are engaging inside these circles of science or religious studies, but also in calligraphy, to know how to write Arabic, and they see a lot of languages everywhere. It's not just I'm expressing to them what happened in the past. Also in indirect way, I tell them what's going on now in Egypt, why we're moving to the future. We need to deliver this message, as you mentioned, in a direct way and also in an indirect way. Because when they see by themselves, they change a lot of things. And then they ask. And when they ask, they have a lot of free box everywhere. In a lot of languages, they give them the box. If you have more questions, you can come, you can ask, but also you can read more. So when you read from us, it's better than when you read or hear about us from others.
I mean, also they can act as ambassadors to their people, because taking another example, moving to the religious complex, being in a place with a synagogue, with a church, and Amr ibn al-As Mosque, one of the most old mosques, and just they take a look, and I've seen this by myself, and they start to ask, who's Amr ibn al-As? What was he doing? What happened during his era? And they start, as you mentioned, they feel impressed with the idea itself. How far can people or Egyptians at this certain period of time, as usual, has to do with our history. We used to live all together. No one have ever asked about the religion or anything, accepting the different as he is.
Exactly. The complex is a very good example of how people lived in different ways, in different religions, in different backgrounds, together in the same way, without any problems for years. So when you come now and tell us that we have a problem, it's not our problem, it's your problem that you have ignorance. You need to know more about us, about the society. You can have a neighbor just next to you for years, and you don't know if they are Muslim or not. And you know that this is very normal. In Egypt is a different. I always have this example or bird. I say that Egypt has a mixture. It's all mixture. Anybody, wherever they come from, wherever their background, whenever they go to Egypt, they go in this mixture. And you have a lot of YouTubers or TikTokers, they are like from USA or Canada, and I see some videos. They are Egyptians now, like even if their accent is not the best, but their culture, the way they talk, the way they express themselves, the way they love this country, and they have just been here for 5 years, couple years.
Many of them just came to join working in any institution, for example, but he prefers to stay and to continue.
Because they are impressed of how people are engaged in their hearts in Egypt. I lived in USA for a while, and I tell you, it's very different. People don't care about you in a way that they are having like empathy towards you. Everybody has the materialistic life engaged in their hearts, so they are concerned about money, about how I get better.
Concerned
They are
about their own
afraid.
problems, yes.
They are afraid of each other's. But here in Egypt, when they come here, I tell them, if you have any problem anywhere, anytime, just ask anybody in the street and you will get help. They are like, we don't believe that. When they come here and see it by themselves, like, wow, we didn't see that anywhere. And people in Egypt, like the Egyptian people, actually, they love to give. They love to help.
Support.
And this is actually very interesting to a lot of people around us. And we have a power. I think this power, we need not to lose that in any time, because this is our power as Egyptians. And I see a lot of people that they immigrated to Egypt, and they say, we never felt that we are immigrants. Like when you go to the West and you immigrate there, you will feel that you are immigrants for years. Because
Forever.
you talk differently,
Yes.
or your color is different, or whatever. But here, wherever you are from, you feel like you are home.
Dr. Ahmed Sobhy Mustafa, member of Al-Azhar International Observatory, United States, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Right, moving on to a quick break, then we'll be back with more on The Breakfast Show.